You don't want to make it too hard. I remember people complain about Alexander Tier 1, too hard. It's crazy that they... I am curious back in the day. Like, do people just not do T7S? Because personally, I feel like T7S is way harder than Alexander. Like, why are people complaining about Alexander and not complaining about Coils? Because I feel like Coils is honestly like harder than Alexander. The nature reaction A4S. Okay. Well, yes. Oh, A4S, I get it. It's not the whole tier, right? It's just that fight in particular is so dumb because the only way to do it reliably as a PF is to sacrifice someone. Yeah, that is dumb. I agree. However, it's not really hard. I guess it's just like an overreaction. I think that's what you're trying to say from the player. Because the only way to finish the mechanic is to sacrifice someone. Because yeah, I don't believe Alexander tier 1 is the hardest tier. I'm sorry for everyone who say that they haven't tried T7S. Like, tier 2 Call Savage, the whole fight, the whole tier is way harder than Alexander tier 1. Also, job skill change and you're playing job didn't exist yet. I don't care. I don't care about the excuse. Like, shouldn't be Coil Savage is easier than Heaven's Ward. Why does it make any difference though? Give me a reason why Alexander tier 1 was harder back then than tier 2 Savage. Other than the balance, other than the potency change. I think not many people did the second tier Savage. Okay, that's the reason. It's not about freaking Astro got rework or fucking bullshit like that. It's like it's not like you're jumping from 3 expansion, right? It's only like 1 expansion. It's not a lot of difference. Like just because you have Astro doesn't make the job or the freaking fight 10 times easier. It's not an excuse. No, it's not. It's easier to kill the boss. Yes, there's no DPS check. I agree. I agree with it 100%. However, Machinist went through major makeover. It doesn't play the same map. Okay, the question is, before the makeover, was Machinist too broken or underwhelming? It was just a bad job. Alright, so nobody's played. So what makes it like different? Like, I don't care, right? Like, let's say, right? Let's say Machinist got a makeover. Okay. Did they have Tactician before? Because that's the only thing that I care. Did they have party buff that they used to have or like remove or added that were not there before? What makes the makeover... What makes the fight easier because of the makeover? If you get what I mean. Without the potency change. I don't care about the potency change. I can see the potency change. I don't care. Let's say, right? Let's say Bart used to have the rest. Okay, now Bart does not have the rest. Well, now it should be harder, no? Instead of easier. It's just a bad job. You had to be there. Machinist had modes. Is it like stance like how Viper will be? Yeah, but then like during that, like if Machinist was bad, nobody was playing Machinist anyway. Wasn't it? Or do people still play Machinist? Was it needed? I don't think they nerfed anything in the first tier of Alexander. Case cost barrel mode. People complain when if you didn't have a good ping, Machinist was impossible for its rotation. Well, okay. Best damage rotation, okay. And how does that makes the fight harder? I don't get it. I feel like less balance change. Well, other than the cross platform and like the Iron Shell, right? But like even Iron Shell, right? It's basically just a mid for the whole party. Okay, the hard part that I can think of, if you're talking about like healer stats, now that's a big change, right? Because that changes how you actually play the job. That's the important like changes. That I understand, like how it really hard. Like how you have to switch between heal and DPS stance or something. But even then, right? Even with the healer stance, yeah, even okay, I was talking about like healer stance. Even with healer stance, right? What I'm thinking is like during that time, do you still need to GCD heal a lot? Because like if that is the case, then there's no difference between how we play right now. Like I hate personally I hate that argument saying that back then is so much harder. It's not. It's not so much harder. Like it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. DPS check is harder, yes, but the fight is still as hard as what it felt like before. Unless if I'm wrong. If you're saying, oh yeah, it's harder because we have to wait our cooldown. Okay, that's not harder. That's just quality of life. That's just you're playing shit games and you're still playing it. That's on you. That's not on us. Why are you complaining? So in my terms, like in my mind, it's like you say, oh, it was so much harder back then because we didn't have internet. Oh, fuck yourself, bro. It's not It's not like the life is harder because you don't have internet. Like it's just like the world changed. It doesn't make it easier, you know? Like you guys choose to be the early adopter and I respect you guys for it. But I don't see why are you guys complaining back then and saying that, oh yeah, back then is so much harder. Nowadays you guys have internet, you have guide, so you don't have to do anything. Back then we have to blind proc everything. Like, huh? I mean, you know, I personally think that our achievement of like clearing it mine is still a big achievement. Even when we didn't do the cheese that people did it while it was current. I know we skipped the second Nishi because our potency is really high. Back then you guys have to do 2 Nishi. So it is, I guess that is harder because you have to do more mechanic. But like if you can do it the first time, you should be able to do it the second time. That's all. That's my opinion. Sorry that I blew up a little bit. I'm just sick of people saying that, oh yeah, it's harder back in the day. All right, so not much that I can do. All right, it's harder. We got it easy. I'm sorry. I'm not a good fucking raider. I'm not the best raider because I didn't rate this game when it first came out from 1.0. Hello? It's like how people want to try to complete raids before any patches happens because they'll start saying that. Like I understand the sentiment of like it was harder back in the day if there is no min eye level settings and you can overgear the shit of your character. That I understand. Like for example, right? For example, like well, I can only say P12S because that's my first tier. Like progging it with crafted gear, I can see how it is harder because like there's a DPS. Well, I keep saying DPS check. Yeah, I mean you see more mechanic, I guess. You see more mechanic because your DPS is lower, because you're using crafted gear, not like BIS gear like now. Like for example, like I clear P12F, even though I clear it on content, people are already overgearing it, which is not by a lot, but it's still like 660. And even when people have BIS gear with 660 gear, with some of us with having like on par gear ish, let's say ish, we're still hitting the enrage, which does not make any sense to me. It's just because my TPS doesn't know how to do the rotation properly or not having the 100% uptime. That's why we're hitting the enrich timer. But now people are using the BIS gear and we are able to like clear it even with less perfect uptime. That I understand. That I completely understand. But that doesn't changes like okay, you skip mechanic, but it's not like we're skipping the whole fight, if you know what I mean, right? We're skipping one or two. Well, that's also a hard argument because in A5S, yeah, A5S, we literally skipped the whole flying bird thing, which does not make any sense because back then if you don't have enough DPS we were not skipping the mechanic, so you have to do the mechanic properly. Nowadays you skip the mechanic so you didn't even have to learn the mechanics makes the fight like Alglaya. I did not see the skill mechanic. Shouldn't be able to skip the mechanic anyway back then. No, because your gear is not okay. No, never mind. No, because well, that's roulette though. Like you're not even PFing that, right? You're not when alliance rate is current, you don't really PF it. You just roulette it, right? Which mean that you do not have the min eye level settings anyway. But back then you cannot overgear to 660. Back then it was like what, 640? No, it's not even 640. It's even less. 580 or something. Which means that you'll see more mechanic. But alliance rate is not really a rate. I'm sorry, alliance rate is not a rate. I am sorry, that's not. I don't know. I don't feel like alliance rate can be counted as a rate. You may not care about it, but you have your opinion. But it's a rate. Fair. It's called alliance rate, so it is a rate. Fair. That is fair. Old content will always get shoved back. Not much that I can do. It's just don't downplay it, I guess. When people do it on mine, like there's nothing that we can do as a new player.